listeners. This is Aspen Waite Radio, and I am Mr. Paul Waite, and I'm with the legend that is Mr. John Rokosney. Good morning, good afternoon, John.
Good afternoon to you. Good morning to me.
Yeah, good morning at Eastern Standard Time. It's about 9 o'clock, I think, and 2
No,
p.m.
it's 11:35 here.
That's anyway. So we started off with the Albion's Keeper banner, which was where this interview was originally going to sit. But I decided that John and I were just such good news that we just had to make it into a special. So this interview is going to go out as a special on Sunday. So those of you who are listening to this, hopefully for the first time, it will be 2 p.m. In England and 9 a.m. In New York time, and of course, people in Seattle, etc. It'll be what 6 a.m. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, 8 hours, isn't it? I think it's 8 hours over there.
Yeah.
So, very pleased to have John here today. Again, so I met John. How did I meet John? So I met John through meeting Avon Faire, and I met Avon Faire originally through the Medieval Babes, who are quite a famous group based in Britain, who basically, as the name would suggest, sing a mixture of sort of medieval and churchy, folky sort of music, going right back to sort of Chaucer's time, right through to modern day folk classics. And through getting friendly with them, I was made aware of Avon Faire. And Andrea is your girlfriend, is she? Just to be clear on that, or is she just
she's my like life partner. We've been together for 25 years.
That's why I make sure I didn't make a boo boo there.
No.
I basically absolutely lovely ladies, Avon Faire, and no, seriously, really lovely, and very very friendly and welcoming, and so I invited them onto my show, and this chap with black hair is sat there, and John, you do percussion, I think, with Avon Faire.
I play percussion and I drive.
And also your missus, effectively, Andriette Redman, is not only is she one of the founders of Avon Faire, but is she your co-producer on the films?
Yeah, she's my co-producer on the films, and we have a production company. We've done shorter form films for almost 30 years for charities and nonprofits, fundraising films, and national public service announcements kind of thing. And we've done a few different documentaries, but the last one we completed, They Survived Together. We produced that together.
Nice. So I see that you've actually been in the film industry for 32 years. I think it's 33 years. Your 33rd year now.
Yeah,
which is a lot of experience, isn't it? And I was just reading about all the different shows you've done this morning, because I thought it was a good thing to know your subject, so to speak.
But I started out in New York City as a musician, and I was working odd jobs, and I happened to meet a gentleman who owned a production company, and he kind of took me under his wing, and I started working for his company as a production assistant, carrying equipment, running for coffee, doing whatever needed to be done, and trying to do it as best I could, and try to learn as much as I could while on the job. And he gave me the chance to be a director and a producer after 4 years of that. So that's how I got.
Remind me what his name is.
His name is Doug Wiles. He passed away.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
No. You're very effusive in terms of recognizing his mentorship on you. I'd say in all the stuff I could read this morning.
Yeah, mentorship to me is a really important thing, and it really affected my life as well. And I try to do it if I can to younger people. I think it's a really important thing. Not just not just hiring an intern to to run errands and not pay them, but to really try to guide, in a way that's caring, where the person wants to do the job they're doing.
So yes, we've got a lot of experience doing a whole range of different stuff. So what made you want to do They Survive Together? Where did that idea come from?
I had been, I'd worked on a couple of films as a producer. One called The Last Poets, which is about a group of um, poets from Harlem in during the civil rights
Yeah.
era, and then I did another film called Seventh Inning Stretch, which was a documentary on ESPN,
Oh yeah.
which kind of combined rock stars and baseball
Yeah.
stars, and but they weren't my own films. That I was a producer. They weren't my babies, so to speak, and so I'd been kind of looking for something, um, to really do as my own, to be the director, and I came across this story, by chance, of
Okay.
They Survived Together, and it really, when we came across the story, we just were like, we knew we had to do it, and so our lives really changed, from that moment on, from till now.
This is set in the Krakow ghetto, with obviously a Polish Jewish family.
Yes.
What's their name? Negi or something. Begins with N.
Niger.
Niger. That's right.
Yes.
So what year does the film start? What was it? 37 or something, or was it right?
Um, it starts probably. I mean, we talk about the life, what Krakow life was
Yeah.
like before the invasion in 1939. So we were lucky to have firsthand accounts,
Yeah.
from the survivors, who are the main subject of the film, and they recall they were children, but they had a lot of recall of their life before the invasion in
Hmm.
September 1st of 1939. So we start out the film, talking about, they lived in the ghetto, the Jewish ghetto, which
Mm.
wasn't the Krakow, which wasn't the Krakow ghetto yet. But I mean, it was the Krakow ghetto, but it wasn't a forced ghetto,
Mm.
at that point. And they had a nice life. They weren't rich, they weren't poor, but they had a family business selling vegetables and fruit in the market, and so we kind of tried to paint the picture that things were just sort of normal life for them, and until the invasion of the
Yeah.
Nazis in 39.
Okay. So I think so. Your films. So the that film and the current film, The Kid Officer, are they crowdfunded in effect?
Well, we do a little bit of crowdfunding, but the majority of the funds come from family
Oh,
foundations.
okay.
Not only Jewish family foundations, but other foundations that feel it's important to get these stories told. It's very, we feel this, and the people that invest in the films feel this, that especially getting first person testimony, about these stories to the public, is extremely important, and especially nowadays when there's such a rise in anti-Semitism. There's a lot of misinformation,
Hmm.
um, about the Holocaust in general. There's even Holocaust deniers,
Absolutely.
um, and so yeah, we just feel like we're on a mission now to tell as many of these stories as we possibly can. We since we since we made They Survived Together, we were contacted by Steven Spielberg's Showa Foundation, who saw the film. Somebody on the board saw the film, and they contacted us, and now we're working for them, and we're going around interviewing it's sort of called like the last call or last chance, because these remaining survivors are very elderly now. So we're going around and interviewing them and getting their stories archived. The Showa Foundation has a large archive at the University of Southern California, which Spielberg went to and started this whole thing. And so it's just capturing as many stories as we can. So we're very involved in that, and we do that probably 4 survivors a month we interview. So
fantastic. I mean, I think so we're not going to get overly political or whatever today. What I do think though is obviously what happened between about 1934 actually 1934 to 45 was unbelievable actually. In fact, one of the things that I think people don't seem to take into account is actually Hamas make the SS look like schoolboys, arguably, in some of the things they're doing. And I just, I feel genuinely very proud of you, and I just feel that it's like Schindler's List, for instance, as a film, wonderful, absolutely wonderful film. I almost feel like every single person in the world should be made to watch that film once in their life,
right.
Because it's got such a powerful message.
Yes.
And I think what is so staggering, and I think about this a lot, the British and the American troops that liberated Dachau and Auschwitz, etc.
Yeah.
If you'd said to them that 78 years later, 79 years later, we'd be living in a world where there's every possibility that we're going to descend into a very similar world as was going on between 34 and 39. I don't think that's a ridiculous thing to say.
Somebody said to me recently, anti-Semitism is a light sleeper, and it for some reason it's just been given permission to come out into the open again, and for various reasons. And like I said, we just want people to hear stories and maybe think a little bit deeper before they cast assumptions about what's going on.
Okay.
Yes, October 7th. I think October 7th. There's not enough attention paid on what happened on October 7th. It's
Great.
like blushing over 9/11. It's beyond horrific, and it sort of just got passed over. I think it is, as far as much media attention it should have had.
Because it doesn't suit anyone's agenda for it not to be. That's why. I think that. Anyway, let's go and play the first 2 tracks today from the soundtrack. We have The War Is Over and The Escape. This is an Aspen Media special brought to you by Paul Waite with his special guest, Mr. John Rokosney. I have to say, John, that music was wonderful. So I can't think of the right word to use. Wonderful.
Yeah, it's very powerful. We were fortunate to have Frank London, who is the leader of a group called the Klezmatics. They're a Grammy-winning group from New York City. Frank is one of the premier Jewish composers and musicians worldwide, and he happened to live in our East Village neighborhood, and we had a mutual friend, and we're lucky to get him to write the music for the film, and he's also writing the music for our next film as well. So yeah, the music is just extremely important. We actually record the music early on in the. A lot of people will shoot and edit their film and then kind of do the music afterwards as almost like a second thought, but we do the music almost first because we want to get inspired by that, editing and feel wise and vibe wise of the film. So we do things a little bit differently where we record the music soundtrack first. It's not a very orthodox way to go, but it works for us.
Pardon the pun.
I thought that was going to slip by.
Fundamentally important. Got to have a bit of humour in here as well. No, I just thought, that music would be good enough to be in Schindler's List, for instance, in my opinion.
I know,
really
it's fantastic. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're very proud of it.
So it should be.
Yeah, and it just if people watch the film, They Survive Together, they'll hear a lot of that music and used in a lot of different ways, and it's very powerful.
So, without sort of ruining the film, one presumes that most of the family did survive. Is that right?
That's correct. I mean, we put it in the title. They were two parents, a mother and a father, and 4 small children ranging from the age of 3 to about 12 or 13 when they escaped from the Krakow ghetto at the very sort of end of right before the liquidation of the ghetto. Mm-hmm. They saw the writing on the wall that everybody was going to get killed, so they decided to escape as a family. They decided to die. If they were going to die, they were going to die as a family.
Brilliant.
And they were told by one of the the Jewish Museum in New York that of all the thousands of stories that they've heard, they've never heard of a intact family escaping and surviving with 4 small children. So we went into the film not knowing that it was an extremely rare story, but since we've put it out and since we've done a lot of screenings and people are kind of amazed by just that part of the story that children were killed first because they weren't able to be used as workers in the ghetto. So the parents had to really struggle hard to keep the children hidden and safe, as well as themselves. So it's a very interesting story. It's what drew us. If I do say so myself, it's what drew us into committing our life to making the film.
Yeah. So they leave the ghetto, and where do they go? How, do they get out of Poland, or are they stuck in Poland for the rest of the period?
No, they go on a journey. They get out of the ghetto, and they go on a long journey for the next couple of years, going from one country to the just kind of running away from the Nazis from each location they're in. They they were lucky enough to be able to get Christian papers and a different name. So they kind of and they were helped all along the way by different people who took a real chance.
Hmm.
When you're in that situation in during the Holocaust and you're helping Jewish families, or Jewish people in general, hide or escape or move on, you're putting your own life at risk. So they were helped by the bravery. I won't even say goodness, but the bravery
Mm.
of a lot of individuals. You know, not just Jewish, but Christian. A lot of Christian people help them along the way. So it's that's another really strong part of the story. You wonder, how you would yourself react,
Mm.
in a situation like that. If a Jewish family came knocking on your door, when during World War II and in Europe, how would you react? Would you be too scared to hide them, or would you do it?
Well, I
It's
know I would do it, but I know that most people wouldn't
Yeah,
do
yeah.
it.
But you understand that some people just they want to protect themselves, and it's a tough situation, especially if you're a Jewish person. You know that you're targeted as well. So
Yeah, there's a life lesson there, John, isn't there? Really, I think it's for me, for instance, one of the things I like about myself is I know who I am. If that makes sense, I know who
uh-huh.
I am. I know what my weaknesses are. I know, and I made a decision a long time ago, that that so for instance, if I had to get killed in the pursuit of just of what I thought was just, then I am. So I'm going to be I'm going to be a person that has a voice about a number of things, make sure people don't forget,
Yeah,
and I think it comes down to, so I think you presumably are the same as me. I if I behaved like the Quislings did, etc., and the people that would sit there and take the view that helping the family was something they couldn't do, then what sort of person does that make you?
yeah.
It might be understandable, but it doesn't make it right, does it?
No, yeah. I mean, I think what you're saying is is kind of a good thing for people to think about for themselves. Like, what kind of person do I want to be? And and to think about it before you're faced with this as the decision.
Absolutely.
It's interesting.
Yeah. So, how much did the film? Can I ask you how much the film cost, or is that too vulgar?
Uh,
Was it hundreds
I
of thousands or millions? Which is,
not millions, but the former. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
have you been? So, obviously, the reaction to your film has been fantastic, isn't it?
Yes, yes, we were, we just wanted to get the movie done. I mean, finishing a film is hard enough. It's like pushing a boulder up a hill. So we were just so pleased that we made it to the finish line as far as finishing the film. And as soon as the film was done, I sent it to PBS, which is WNET PBS in New York
Hmm.
City, which is the big PBS station and
Hmm.
really the flagship station in the country, in the U.S. And they said we want the film. We want it was a 75-minute film at that point. They said we want the film. We want, but we need you to cut it down to an hour for television, and we want to put it on the air in a month.
Wow.
So, we'd spent 2 years like editing our 75-minute version, and we had a month to cut down to and we needed more money at that point to do that. So, but people rallied behind us. We have a great support system of some family foundations, and we got it done, and we got it on the air on PBS. And when when we got it on the air, they said to me, "So when you submit this for an Emmy award, please, make sure please make sure you include that it's on on PBS WNET in New York." And I'm like, "What? Submitted for an Emmy award?" I had no idea. Like I wasn't even thinking that. I was just pleased. Growing up, I watched PBS from the time I was, I could like understand that I was watching television, and still do. So it was a huge honor to get it onto PBS, and it was one of our goals as well. And I was really shocked when she said, when you are contacted PBS, when you submitted for an Emmy, and I thought, what? But we did, and we got nominated for an Emmy, and then we won an Emmy for Best Historical Documentary, which was just incredible shock. We was it was a
Did you
real
cry?
blessing. What's that?
Did you cry?
I think I would have cried if I lost.
You said you didn't expect to win, so you must have been.
Once we got nominated, and once we were at the actual awards thing, I was like, screw this it's good to be nominated thing. I want to win.
Good.
And I was like, wow, winning feels really good.
No, it's absolutely so well done, so very well done. Right, so we're now going to play the next two tracks of the soundtrack, and we'll be back with John. Well, I can barely speak, I have to say. That Durme Durme, what a absolutely beautiful sound. Like angels.
Yeah, so that was Avon Faire.
No.
The first track, was Avon Faire.
Jeez. Wow. Wow. I had tears of it. I don't know what you do. It was just,
beautiful, yeah.
Oh, wow. Who wrote that? Was that Jack? Was this London again?
That's a Sephardic lullaby.
Oh, okay.
It's an old song.
And the girls sang that. Wow. Gee Louise. Wow.
And they do a song on the new soundtrack too, which we just recorded on Sunday. So it's we're very rich with the music that we are fortunate to have for these films.
That music is as good as music I've ever heard in a soundtrack of any film, in my opinion. Absolutely beautiful, relevant, touching, everything. Just one thing I hope this isn't a negative thing to say. In the light of the fact that there are a lot of ignorant people in this world who don't really understand the facts, do you find that there's any, given that the film and the new film, Kid Lieutenant, that they are about the Holocaust and therefore inevitably about Jews, do you find there is a section of the public that won't watch the film, or is so biased against Jews that they don't want to watch it or anything?
No, I don't. I haven't run across that. I think that that level of unintelligence doesn't even seek out films.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
So,
yeah.
So it's like it's not even in their. It wouldn't even cross their path. So no, I think it's for it's for people who are looking to learn and to learn about history, and I think if you're ignorant enough to to hate Jewish people just for being Jewish people, then you're not gonna even seek out a film like this.
That's very true. So
Yeah,
what
I don't
country did they end up in?
know. They ended up in Hungary,
Really? That's an interesting place to be.
and then they well, after they were liberated, I mean, and after the war was over and post film, let's say, they went to the son in the film, Ben, went to Israel to join the Israeli army for
Fantastic.
2 years. There's a lot of
So he fought in 48, did he?
yeah, and so a lot of Holocaust refugees did that, but the rest of the family, they went to Munich actually, and
Wow.
went and studied and got their education in Munich because the German government was giving free education to Jewish people. So they took advantage of that and they got educated there before they came to the United States.
Isn't it remarkable that you would think that Germany would be the last place that they would want to be, wouldn't you? Having had all this.
It is kind of ironic, and but I guess that Germany really wanted to just change the landscape, so to speak, as quickly as they could, and like a lot of countries around there, we're guilty of anti-Semitism as well. So
Yeah,
it
fair
was
point.
they were fortunate that they survived and were able to be educated and then come to the United States.
Cool. So, how can people buy They Survive Together?
They Survive Together is available for streaming on Amazon Prime.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah, so that's you can, if you want to buy a DVD, you can buy a DVD on Amazon Prime. If you want to stream the movie, you can stream it on Amazon Prime. Just search They Survive Together, and we also have a website, theysurvivetogetherfilm.com, if people want to contact us or ask questions or whatever. There's lots of information on the website as well.
Fantastic. So I think we'll listen to a bit of music before we finish off. So we're going to play a couple of tracks from your dear lady friends, Avon Faire. I have to say I'm going to send them a joyous note today. I was so impressed with their singing in there. So
Oh, wait till you hear the next track.
okay. Well, you mean the next track in the next movie?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll hold you to that. Okay.
All around my hat I will wear the green willow, and all around my hat for a 12-month and a day. And if anyone should ask me the reason why I'm wearing it,
that was the wonderful Avon Faire.
Oh,
So yeah, so obviously if it wasn't for Avon Faire, we never would have met John in the first place. So always have a special place in my heart there. Welcome back to Aspen Media and a lovely interview with Mr. John Rokosney. So we've only got 6 minutes left, John. So it's been fantastic. So do we want to talk a bit about Kid Officer before we finish today?
sure. Yeah, we again we through working for the Shoah Foundation, we've met a lot of Holocaust survivors and heard their stories, and this gentleman named Fred Bierman was one of the survivors that we interviewed for the Shoah Foundation. And on our drive home, Andriette and I just looked at each other and said, "Wow, we got to make a film about this guy." And he lives close to us here in New Jersey, and we just approached him and his family, and they agreed to do it. He's 93 years old,
Right.
and he's just a wonderful gentleman. We felt so honored to be able to get the rights to tell his story. So we are in the midst of production, and we are we've interviewed him probably uh, I'd say 8 or 10 times. Keep going back to his place and interviewing him and getting more stories, and we just recorded the soundtrack music, and so we're in the fundraising phase really, uh, and the production phase of that. We have a researcher working on the archival footage and photographs we need. We have an animator. We're going to animate some of the stories.
Really?
We have an art director. We have an editor. We have uh, uh, obviously we have the composer and the musicians, and Andriette and I are doing the interviewing. So we're in the thick of it, and it's been really great, and we can't wait for everybody to see this story. It's a little bit different than They Survived Together, um, so we're excited about it.
So the basic plot. So obviously, we've got a young man. How old is he when he starts?
We start the film. He's about 7 or 8 years old, in living in Vienna, Austria, and he watches from his family has an apartment in the center of
Hmm.
Vienna, and in March of 1938, Hitler did a
Youngsters.
parade. Yeah, exactly. Did a parade through the streets of Vienna, with his army and all the other brown shirts and Hitler Youth, and Fred, as a young boy, saw this, and he didn't know what was going on. He was a young Jewish boy, but they lived amongst their neighborhood was like Christians and Jewish living together. He didn't even know the difference between Christian and Jewish. He just it was a nice environment for him to grow up in, and he actually got excited by the parade, and he was like, "I want to join the Hitler Youth," strangely enough. But the next day when he went to school, his teacher he was the only Jewish kid in his class, and his teacher locked him in a closet all day long, and he didn't know why. And he went home, he didn't say anything to his parents, and the next day, same thing, he went to school, and the teacher just threw him in the closet and closed the door, and left him there all day long. And then he finally told his parents, and so they pulled him out of school, and then all the Jewish businesses in the neighborhood were closed, including his father's company. His father had a trucking company called the Bierman Trucking Company, and they had these bright orange trucks that were very known throughout the area, and it said Bierman on the side, the family name, and the Nazis took over the company, painted swastikas on the side of the vans, and so the family had to see their very successful business go away, and watch these, you know, Nazi symbols haunting them, and eventually they fled with just the clothes on their backs and escaped to Paris at first. The first place they went was
A good place to
Paris.
go.
So, but then that, after a year of living in Paris, of course, they had to leave France when France was invaded.
So why is it called Kid Off? Why is it
Well,
why is it called?
the family eventually ends up in Palestine,
Oh,
and
okay.
he, uh,
Transjordan, you mean, do you?
well, he's part of it, yeah.
Sorry, I'm being a
But
bit naughty with you there.
it was under, during World War II. It was under a British mandate,
Sure.
and the the Arabs and the Jews were living amongst each other and getting along well. His best friend was an Arab boy, and the sort of the common enemy was the British Army there.
Hmm.
Just in a so during World War II, there was no fighting between the Jews, the Jews and the Arabs, and so he joined a resistance group called the Haganah,
Yeah, I know that.
which
Yeah.
was basically a resistance group against the British
Yeah.
mandate, British uh, occupation, if you will, um, and they became very. He saw what was going on was when World War II ended. A lot of Holocaust refugees were trying to get into Palestine, as it was called then, and they were being turned away, and they were ending up in Greece, and Cyprus, and being put in internment camps. So it really kind of fired up the Haganah resistance, and so he was like best friends with Ariel Sharon, and
Yeah.
they fought alongside each other, and then eventually he became all the resistance groups sort of folded into the Israeli army once the partition was set in by the UN in 47, but um,
Yeah.
then
48 was ratified, wasn't it?
the 48 was when the war started, but the partition was initiated in 47, I believe, but it wasn't, it that's when it kind of, you know, the Jews accepted it and the Arabs didn't accept it. So
Absolutely.
that's when the War of 48 started. So he was a young man. He was a teenager, and he was in the Israeli army. The leaders go into the battles first, as opposed to
Yeah.
our armies. We send in our troops and the leaders stay back. But so the leaders would get I don't mean to laugh, but the
Hmm.
leaders would get killed off pretty easily. Um, so he kind of moved up the chain, and he was a lieutenant when he was 17 years old, and the youngest officer
Oh, I see.
ever.
Okay.
So
Good man.
that's the story.
Right. So what we're going to do, Drew, we're not going to play the last Avon Faire. It's more important to talk to John. So that was a wonderful experience, John. Um, absolutely two absolutely wonderful stories need to be told. The second one is a bit bittersweet for me because obviously I'm never quite sure how to take it. It was obviously a great film called Exodus with Paul Newman in it, which tells the story of the Haganah and effectively, you had British soldiers 1 minute liberating the Jews and then being shot by them. And I'm not saying whose side I'm necessarily on in that, but anyway, poignant stories. Absolutely
Yeah,
fantastic work, John.
thank you
Look
so much.
forward to having you back when the Kid Officer is ready for release.
Oh, thank you so much. I
Um,
really, really appreciate you and your show and your team there, and just thank you so much for having us. And yeah, I mean, just one little addendum is yes, it's hard to the history is very complicated, and you don't necessarily have to make decisions on on things, but you do have to learn what happened, I think.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. So that was Mr. John Rokosny, and look forward to the release of The Kid Officer, and let's hope he wins another Emmy. Hope you enjoyed the show today. I am Paul Waite. I'll be back as normal in the week. Cheers. Bye.